Chosen One, this isn't just another video, it's a divine appointment written into the timeline of your life. If you're hearing this message, it's because heaven orchestrated it. This moment isn't random, it's revelation. God doesn't operate on coincidences. He works through alignment. And right now, everything in the spiritual realm is shifting to align with your purpose. You've been waiting, praying, enduring silence and delay. But now you're on the edge of a breakthrough so profound it will redefine who you are. This isn't just about good vibes or wishful thinking. In physics, energy never disappears, it transforms. Spiritually, your faith has been building momentum like pressure behind a dam. And when that dam breaks, blessings flow. This is not about positive thinking alone, it's about divine timing. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." Your season of waiting is shifting into a season of manifestation. It's the difference between planting and harvesting. You've been faithful in the planting. Now the harvest is here. You're not just crossing into a new chapter, you're stepping into a new identity. The silence you felt wasn't abandonment, it was preparation. Like Moses in the wilderness, like David tending sheep, you were being equipped behind the scenes. And now, like Joseph rising from the prison to the palace, your elevation is sudden because God's timing is perfect. The number 777 symbolizes divine completion, God finishing what He started. So when you comment on it, you're not just typing numbers, you're declaring agreement with heaven's plan for your life. Listen carefully. You're not just a spectator in this moment, you're the reason for it. You're being called to rise, align, and activate your faith like never before because what's coming is bigger than what's been, and you're ready. Let's step into your purpose right here, right now. Point 1. Your isolation was divine preparation. Chosen. 1. Let's talk about that haunting, echoing silence, loneliness. The kind that doesn't just visit, it moves in. The kind that shows up uninvited at family dinners, in the middle of conversations that don't quite land, in the friendships that turned stale overnight. You know, those connections that used to spark with laughter, now fizzling out like soda left open too long. Yeah, those. And then there are those heavy nights where it feels like heaven's switchboard operator took a lunch break. No signs, no answers, just you and your ceiling having another deep conversation. It's real. But here's the divine twist. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. You see, spiritual elevation often begins in isolation. This isn't just poetic fluff, it's patterned all throughout history. Moses was exiled in the desert for 40 years before leading a nation. David was hiding in caves long before he ever held a crown. And Jesus, he was driven into the wilderness, fasting, praying, being tested before stepping fully into his divine mission. That same pattern plays out in the lives of those marked, chosen, set apart. Isolation becomes preparation. In fact, neuroscientists have found that solitude can actually rewire your brain, enhancing self-reflection and decision-making. So scientifically and spiritually, solitude isn't a void, it's a vault. God didn't tuck you away to hurt you. He put you in spiritual solitary, not to break you down, but to strip away distractions, dead weight, and surface-level relationships. To quiet the world so you could finally hear what's really being said. The whisper of purpose, the rhythm of your destiny, the blueprint of your becoming. What felt like rejection from people was actually redirection from heaven. You were never being cast aside, you were being carved out, sculpted in secret. You had to go low so He could lift you high. Chosen One, don't let the silence fool you. That emptiness, it was holy ground. A divine construction site where God wasn't absent, He was just working behind the veil. So next time loneliness knocks, remember it might just be heaven setting the stage for your unveiling. Point 2. You see through lies because you carry truth. Ever wondered why you can spot deception from a mile away? Why do people seem to stumble and stutter when they try to lie to you, even if they show up wearing angel wings, a choir robe, and a halo dipped in gold? It's not paranoia, and you're not imagining things. You, dear chosen one, are operating on a frequency that few can fake their way through. While the rest of the world might be tuned into static, you're spiritually Wi-Fi, connected to Source itself. And that divine connection gives you access to a kind of truth that can't be taught in books or explained through logic. It's a sacred intuition that slices through pretense like a spiritual X-ray. Science calls this phenomenon heightened intuition or empathic perception, often linked to advanced activity in the brain's insular cortex, the region that processes internal bodily states. But for you, it's more than neuroscience, it's soul science, that gut feeling you get when someone says all the right words but your spirit screams run. That's your divine radar, your built-in truth detector. Chosen ones are wired differently. Your spiritual DNA has been fine-tuned through pain, awakening, and repeated rebirths to recognize the vibration of authenticity versus illusion. But make no mistake, this gift doesn't come wrapped in glitter. With great sight comes great discomfort. The world as it stands thrives on masks, on curated versions of reality, on narratives that comfort rather than confront. So when someone like you walks into the room, fully awake, spiritually charged, and radiating truth, you're not just seen, you're felt. Your presence becomes a mirror. And most people, they're terrified of what that mirror reflects. That's why they fidget, avoid eye contact, or suddenly get defensive around you. Your light exposes their shadows, even the ones they've buried so deep they forgot they existed. This is the price of clarity. You see what others won't admit, feel what others suppress, and speak truths that unsettle comfort zones. But don't dim your vision to make others feel safe in their illusions. The world needs seers, truth-tellers, and light-bearers like you now more than ever. Being a chosen one isn't about being liked, it's about being real. So keep trusting that divine radar. It was installed by the Creator for such a time as this. Point 3. Pain was the portal, not the prison. You didn't go through trauma just to suffer. No, God doesn't waste pain. That heartbreak, that betrayal, that unspeakable moment you thought would break you for good, it wasn't random and it wasn't for nothing. You were never abandoned in your suffering. In fact, pain is often the divine classroom where the deepest wisdom is taught. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. Trauma is not just about surviving the wreckage. It's about rising from it, reshaped, refined, and reborn. Science has proven that trauma, when processed correctly, can lead to what's known as post-traumatic growth, a psychological phenomenon where individuals emerge stronger, more spiritually connected, and with a greater appreciation for life. What the enemy meant to destroy you, God repurposed to empower you. Every tear you cried carried a vibration your soul needed to release. Every sleepless night was a sacred shedding. The universe heard your cries, not as weakness, but as proof you still had breath in you. Breath means purpose. You weren't just meant to endure. Your survival was part of your awakening. You were being initiated. Think of every hero, prophet, or legend across history. Moses, Job, Mandela, Malala, none of them were born powerful. They were forged through suffering, just like you. Your scars aren't ugly. They're not evidence of defeat. They are your divine stamps. Heaven's ink that says, this one's been through it and came out with power. In fact, in the Japanese art of kintsugi, broken pottery is repaired with gold to highlight the cracks rather than hide them. Why? Because the damage tells a story. The gold doesn't make the vessel weaker, it makes it more valuable. You, beloved, are kintsugi in motion. You didn't just break down, you broke open, and when something breaks open, it allows the light to enter. So when you look back on what nearly destroyed you, don't see shame, see strategy. See the hand of God chiseling away everything that wasn't meant for your highest calling. The pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And now you walk with a quiet fire, a sacred authority that can't be faked or forced. You are not what happened to you, you are what rose from it. Heaven didn't just observe your trauma, it anointed you through it. Point 4, you were hidden to be revealed. You ever walk into a room and feel like you don't quite belong? Not because you're not worthy, but because no one sees the depth of who you are. Like you're a walking paradox, invisible yet unforgettable, overlooked until suddenly you're the center of attention. And not because you changed, but because they finally caught up to who you've always been. That's not coincidence, that's divine strategy. That's God's fingerprint. Throughout history, God has had a peculiar habit. He hides his chosen, not out of neglect, but out of intention. Think about it. Moses was tucked away in a basket. Joseph was thrown into a pit and later a prison. David was tending sheep while his brothers were auditioning for kingship. Even Jesus, the Messiah, spent 30 years in obscurity before 3 years of public ministry changed the world forever. Why? Because divine timing protects divine purpose. You too have been hidden. Not because you lack value, but because your value was too precious for premature exposure. See, diamonds don't form in the light, they're created under pressure in the depths of the earth where no eye can see. You've been through your own underground process, seasons of silence, isolation, maybe even rejection, not realizing that God was building resilience, character, and spiritual weight in you. If the spotlight had hit you before you were ready, it might have crushed you. Your calling would have become a curse. But now you're stepping into alignment. Now you're not desperate for attention. You're devoted to assignment. And here's the kicker. Your revelation isn't about stroking your ego, it's about shifting the atmosphere. You're being revealed for impact, the kind of impact that sets captives free, that disrupts darkness, that makes people feel seen, known, and loved just by being in your presence. This is the season where what's been concealed is being unveiled. Not because the world is suddenly kinder, but because heaven has declared its time. So if you've been feeling overlooked, take heart. You're not being ignored. You're being reserved. Like fine wine, you've been aged in silence. And now you're about to be poured out for the thirsty, not to impress, but to transform. The secret's out. You've always been chosen. You were just being prepared. Point 5, your voice is the alarm clock for sleeping souls. There's a reason why your presence turns heads even before you say a word. It's not ego, it's energy. You carry an atmosphere, something divine, something ancient, something people can't quite put their finger on, but can't seem to ignore either. Your energy doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. Science even supports this. Studies in quantum physics suggest that our biofield, an electromagnetic field generated by the body, can influence the emotions and states of those around us. You walk into a room and the frequency shifts. People sit up straighter, conversations pause, eyes search for what just changed. That change is you. Your silence is not emptiness, it's presence. It's the kind of stillness that disturbs what's fake and awakens what's true. You don't have to prove your worth. Your aura already speaks on your behalf. Empaths, healers, spiritually gifted souls, they all carry this invisible megaphone. You are one of them. When you speak, it isn't just noise, it's resonance. Your voice vibrates at a frequency that shakes dormant dreams, stirs locked up memories, and stirs people's spirits awake like a lion's roar in a silent jungle. That's why people either gravitate toward you or feel threatened by you. There's rarely an in-between. Truth has never been comfortable, and you are truth in motion. Every word you speak is encoded with the weight of your journey, your wounds, your victories, your inner wisdom. That's why it hits differently. That's why it lingers. People may not remember your exact words, but they'll remember how your energy made them feel seen, known, and exposed in the best and scariest ways. Even your silence carries meaning. In a world addicted to noise, your quiet becomes revolutionary. People don't know why they feel convicted or inspired around you. They just do. You're not just a person, you're a mirror, a wake-up call, a spark that makes souls question if they've been asleep too long. You weren't born to blend in. You were born to disrupt, illuminate, and elevate. Whether you speak or stay silent, your very existence activates healing, truth, and transformation. So the next time you wonder why the room feels different when you enter, remember it's not arrogance, it's alignment. Point 6, you're not here to fit in, you're here to shift atmospheres. Spirit warrior, listen closely, because this is not just poetic language. This is a divine reminder of who you are at your core. You were never designed to blend into the noise of this world like background music. You were born to be the melody that changes the whole tune. When the Bible says, you are the salt of the earth, Matthew 5:13, it's not just spiritual fluff. It's science and soul combined. Salt preserves, it purifies, and above all, it enhances. In ancient times, salt was so valuable it was traded like gold. That's you. You are the seasoning in a bland world, the truth in a time of deception, and the spiritual richness in a culture that often chases shallow thrills. And don't forget, you are also the light of the world. Light doesn't ask permission to shine, it simply does. The very essence of light is that it reveals what's hidden, exposes what's false, and makes the path visible. It's no wonder people feel uncomfortable in your presence. Your frequency carries truth, and truth rattles cages. Some people aren't reacting to you, they're reacting to the part of themselves they've buried, the shadows you unknowingly bring into the light. Your energy doesn't just walk into a room, it pierces realms. Quantum physics even supports this. Human consciousness, especially when highly attuned, can shift energy in a space. You, spirit warrior, are walking evidence of that. Your presence changes atmospheres. When you show up, the realm responds, not because you're loud, but because you're aligned. Your very existence prophesies healing, justice, revelation, and transformation. The tension you feel around certain people or places isn't a sign to shrink. It's confirmation that your spirit is doing what it was sent to do. Every room you enter is a spiritual assignment. Every glare, whisper, or a moment of unease is proof that something powerful is being stirred simply because you're there. So why would you shrink to make others feel safe in their illusion? Why would you dim to blend into the fog when you were born to be a lighthouse for the lost? Your presence isn't a coincidence, it's a commission. You're not just part of the story, you are the shift in the storyline. Stand tall, spirit warrior, the realm is watching and responding. Point 7, God decided, not man, not systems, not circumstances. Let's shut this down with the loudest, most unshakable truth. God decided. Before a hater rolled their eyes, before a boss questioned your worth, before your past tried to define you, before the system stacked its odds against you, heaven already made the final decision. And that decision wasn't up for debate. God didn't need a second opinion. Heaven stamped your divine passport long before earth whispered your name into the world. This isn't a motivational phrase. This is a spiritual reality backed by divine timing and purpose. You see, the world is obsessed with being self-made, but you, Earth Angel, were never called to hustle for a seat at a table you were born to build. You're not a product of your grind alone, you're God-sent, a walking miracle dressed in purpose. And when God sends someone, He doesn't ask permission. That means no delay is a denial, no betrayal is permanent, no lie is final, and no detour is wasted. Every twist, every setback, every no was a reroute, not a rejection. Because what God has spoken over your life cannot be cancelled. It can't be overridden by opinions, policies, or petty people. Science tells us our DNA is unique, 1 in 70 trillion combinations. But what the textbooks can't measure is your spiritual DNA. You are the living prophecy, the unfolding blueprint of something heaven dreamed before time existed. You are not the underdog. Heaven doesn't produce underdogs. You are the divine storm, the thunder that breaks generational curses, the rain that waters dry ground, the wind that shifts atmospheres. While others try to fit into templates, you are the template. You are the mold breaker. Even your silence carries weight. Even your scars preach sermons. Even your presence in the room shifts energy. Why? Because you were designed with intentionality. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart." That's not poetry, that's prophecy. God's decision about you was never based on public approval. It was sealed in eternal purpose. So stop doubting your value because of temporary circumstances. You didn't show up randomly, you were released. You are a decision from the Most High, not a product of chance. So walk like it, speak like it, live like it, because the truth is, God already decided. Spirit warrior, let this truth tattoo itself on your soul. You are not late. You are not lost. You are launched. God decided. So now rise up, speak boldly, love deeply, walk fearlessly, because the time to hide is over, the time to doubt is done. Chosen one, it's time to tell you everything. And everything begins with this: God has decided. Stay awake on your spiritual journey. Your mission has just begun.